Good afternoon, and from those joining across the pond, good morning, and welcome to One Data's Data Product Impact Summit. It's great to see so many of you here today, innovators, data leaders, and change makers from across industries, all coming together with one shared goal, to transform the way we harness the power of data products. My name is Hannah Fischer, and I have the pleasure to guide you through our summit today. And I can't wait to kick us off into our first keynote. But before we get into content, I first need to cover some quick housekeeping. A reminder that all attendee lines are muted, and for questions, you're welcome to use the questions panel of the GoToWebinar interface. My colleagues are happy to help and assist you there. Great, let's dive into our topics of the summit. You have probably joined us today because you believe in the potential impact of data products. And you likely believe that there's a smarter, more efficient way to work with data. Great. We believe so too. For those who aren't familiar with One Data, we are a software company based out of Germany, building the market's first data product builder. And we've been focused on our mission to help data experts deliver data products that business users need. Data products can become the foundation in which insights are generated. Those insights have the potential to not only influence decisions, but have therefore direct impact of the actions our business partners decide to take, with the goal to ultimately support attaining measurable business value. Yet, for many data leaders, the challenge remains. How do you make that value visible? How do you clearly demonstrate the impact of your data initiatives to the people who matter most, your business stakeholders? During today's summit, we are going to focus on making value visible. Together with our impressive lineup of speakers, including One Data's founder and CEO, Dr. Andreas Böhm, our head of product, CEO Wang, and our data experts taking part in our thought leadership panel, like Caroline Caruthers, William Kunders, Ruben Homan, Eyal Roland, and Dr. Timo Unger, will provide perspective and tips for how to bridge the data business divide. To help us kick off the summit, we've brought a truly exceptional speaker, someone who has dedicated his career to exploring how technology and behavioral insights can drive change. Eyal, author of the best-selling book Hooked: How to Build Habit-Forming Products, will share his unique perspective on how to build products that capture attention, drive engagement, and deliver sustained value. So with no further ado, please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker, Eyal, to the stage. I wish everyone an inspiring keynote session. Great to have you here today. I'm really looking forward to your keynote. The stage is yours.
Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Hannah, for the kind introduction. It's a pleasure to be with everyone. And thank you to the One Data team for having me here today. It's really a great honor to be here with you. And today I'm so excited to share with you my research into how to build habit-forming products. I've been teaching and researching in this field for over a decade. I taught at Stanford at the Graduate School of Business, later at the Hasso-Plattner Institute of Design as well at Stanford. And I've really focused on the psychology of how do we get folks hooked to our product or service. And especially today, how can we use data as a source of engagement and retention for our clients and customers? So if you'll bear with me just one quick second, let me go ahead and share my screen with you so I can bring up these slides. And I think we are in business. All right, so let's dive in. So we've all seen what a tremendous impact these devices can have over our day-to-day lives. And so what I've devoted my career to is really understanding the patterns behind how companies get us hooked. You know, all the usual suspects when it comes to Meta, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Slack, Snapchat, Slack, all of these companies. What is it that makes them so good at consumer retention and engagement? So my idea was to codify in a book, Hooked: How to Build Habit-Forming Products, all of their design secrets, the psychology behind how these products and services do such an amazing job of getting us hooked. And I didn't write the book for them. I didn't write it for the video game companies and the social media companies. I wrote the book for you, the person building the product or service out there that would truly, honestly improve people's lives if they only used it. How many of us have worked on products and services that are fantastic, that are so promising, that are wonderful, and that people will tell us they'll use, but when it comes time for them to actually interact with the product, they don't. And so why does that happen? Well, it turns out that many products and services are not designed to be habit forming. It's our intention. We want people to engage with our product and service. We wish they would use our product or service the way they use Facebook or Instagram, and yet they don't. Why? Well, let's start with what is a habit. Let's get our definition straight. A habit is an impulse to do a behavior with little or no conscious thought. And it turns out that about half of what you do every single day, day in and day out, is spurred by these impulses to do a behavior with little or no conscious thought. And I believe that we can use habits for good. We can improve people's lives. We can help them be more efficient at work. We can help them learn a new language. We can help them make more money. We can help them do all kinds of wonderful things if we can get them to use our product or service in a way that creates a healthy habit. So today I'm going to share with you my over a decade of research into habit-forming products. How are products designed to get users hooked and to create these healthy habits? Well, it starts by building a hook into your product. What is a hook? A hook is a design experience to connect your user's problem with your product with enough frequency to form a habit. Now, these hooks have 4 key parts. We have a trigger, we have an action, we have a reward, and finally an investment. So we're going to fly through these 4 steps. Unfortunately, we don't have a ton of time. So I'm going to give you the 30,000 foot overview of how to build habit forming products. And of course, you can explore more. My book's right up here, Hooked, How to Build Habit Forming Products. That's where you can get into the nitty gritty of actually how to do it for yourself. But I want to give you an overview of these 4 steps that you can use right now to either diagnose why your product or service isn't habit forming, and then hopefully make it habit forming by figuring out how to diagnose the problem and improve it with new product or feature, or with new features to then conform it to the use of this hook model. So every product or service that is habit forming must have a good trigger. What are triggers? There's actually 2 kinds of triggers. We have what we call external triggers. These are the pings, the dings, the rings, anything in our outside environment that tells us what to do next with some piece of information. Click here, buy now, do this, whatever it might say, that it's something in our environment that gives us some piece of information for what to do next. Those are external triggers. Now, we see those every single day, but what's actually more important than those external triggers when it comes to forming a habit are the internal triggers. What are internal triggers? Internal triggers are uncomfortable emotional states that we seek to escape. That's the number one internal trigger. Of course, there can be others as well, certain people, places, situations, routines, but the most common internal trigger are our emotions. And not just any emotion, negative emotions, feeling bored, lonesome, indecisive, fatigued. This is the source of 90% of the reason that we take an action. It's because of these internal triggers. Not what's happening outside of us, but what's happening inside of us. If you think about it, where do people go when they're feeling lonely, when they're seeking connection? Well, they go to Facebook, they go to Instagram, they go to TikTok, they go to some social network to connect. What about when we're feeling unsure about something? Before you even scan your brain to see if you know the answer to a question, you're Googling it immediately with little or no conscious thought. And what about when you're bored, between 2 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon, when you have that big project you have to work on, but you don't really feel like it? Well, you go watch something on YouTube, check stock prices, sports scores, the news, worry about some problem thousands and thousands of kilometers away from you in order to escape this uncomfortable sensation of boredom. So the lesson here, what I want you to remember for your product or service, if you want to build a habit, you have to be able to articulate what is that internal trigger. If you and your team can't tell me what is the psychological itch, boredom, uncertainty, fatigue, anxiety, if you can't articulate what is that internal trigger, you're just flying blind. You're just hoping to get lucky. The next step of the hook model is the action phase. The action phase is defined as the simplest behavior done in anticipation of a reward, the easiest thing the user can do to get relief from that psychological itch. Now, let me show you a few habit-forming products, and I want you to see just how simple that key action is. Something as simple as a scroll on Pinterest, or a quick search on Google, or what can be easier than just pushing the play button on YouTube. These very simple, solitary actions that take care of this emotional itch. Now, it turns out that there's a formula to help us predict the likelihood of these actions. This comes to us from B.J. Fogg, one of my former colleagues at Stanford. And Fogg tells us that for any human behavior any human behavior, your customer's behavior, all behavior requires three things at the same time. We need sufficient motivation, we need sufficient ability, and a trigger must be present. We just talked about triggers. Let's talk about motivation and ability. Motivation is the energy for action, how much we want to do a particular behavior. And here we have these 6 levers that we can pull on to make a behavior more likely to occur based on how much of this element of motivation someone has. So for example, all of us seek pleasure and avoid pain. We seek acceptance, we avoid rejection. We seek pleasure and we seek hope and we avoid fear. We all have these 6 motivators that we can use to prompt people to action by boosting motivation. Now that's just one axis of B equals MAT. The other one is ability, the capacity to do a particular action. And here again, we have these 6 levers that we can pull on to make a behavior more likely to occur based on how much time something takes, how much money something costs, how much physical effort is required. Brain cycles, this is a big one when it comes to technology products, especially data products. The harder something is to understand, the less likely the user is to do the behavior. So if you're using data to create this incredibly complex dashboard that nobody can figure out what the insights are that you want them to take action upon, they won't take the action because it takes too many brain cycles. It's too much work. It requires too much ability. That's a big one in your industry. When it comes to social deviance, we become less likely to do something when we see other people like us not doing it. And we become more likely to do it when we see other people like us doing it. And then finally, non-routine. When something is just something we haven't done before, we're not likely to do it. Whereas the more we do something, the easier it becomes because of this principle of practice, right? The more we do it, the easier it gets, the more likely we are to do it again in the future. So we can actually plot out these 3 elements of motivation, ability, and triggers on this conceptual model, where you can see on the y-axis motivation. The higher motivation, the more likely the behavior is to occur. On the x-axis, ability, the more ability someone has, the easier it is. The farther to the right someone goes, the more likely the behavior is to occur. So the more motivation, the more ability someone has, the more likely the behavior is to occur because it crosses that red threshold. And if and only if a trigger is present, then the behavior will occur every single time. Now, that boils down to the fact that any behavior, if your user is not clicking, if they're not interacting, if they're not purchasing, any human behavior, anything you do, has to have these 3 elements: sufficient motivation, sufficient ability, and a trigger must be present for every click, every transaction, everything you want the user to do. If they're not doing it, it's only because you're missing one or more of these 3 elements of human motivation. Next, sorry I'm speeding through this, but we have very little time. I hope you'll bear with me. The third step of the hook model, really the engine of the hook model, is the reward. And not just any reward. It has to be a special type of reward because we know that to understand rewards, we have to go deep, deep in the brain. That the way our reward system works is by creating this anticipatory itch that when we think we're going to get rewarded by something, that's when our nucleus accumbens, this part of the brain where the reward system is centered, becomes most active in anticipation of a reward. But when we actually get the thing we want, the thing that's going to make us happy and finally make us feel good, that's when the nucleus accumbens becomes less active. So the way the brain gets us to act is in fact by turning on this switch of desire. Did you know that there is a way to activate desire? Does anybody want to know how to do that? Would you like to know how to manufacture desire in your customers and users? Anyone curious? Well, I'm doing it to you right now. So when I took that long pause and I asked you this question, some of you perked up. What's he going to say next? What's the answer to the question? And that utilizes a variable reward because the unknown is fascinating. Variability causes us to engage, it causes us to focus, and it is highly, highly habit forming. So we see this in all kinds of behaviors. This actually came to us from the classic work of B.F. Skinner, the father of operant conditioning. Took these pigeons, put them in a little box. Today we call this a Skinner box. And he gave these pigeons a little disc to peck at. And every time the pigeon pecked at the disc, they would receive a reward, a little food pellet. And at first, every time the pigeon pecked at the disc, they would receive that food pellet. And so they very quickly learned, peck at the disc, get a reward. But then Skinner had a problem. You see, one day he walked into his lab and he realized he didn't have enough of these food pellets. He couldn't afford to give it to the pigeons every time they pecked at the disc. He could only afford to give it to them once in a while. And what Skinner observed was that when he decided to give the pigeon the reward on a variable schedule of reinforcement, meaning sometimes they would get it, sometimes they wouldn't get the reward, the pigeon's rate of response, the number of times they pecked at the disc, increased when the variable reward was given on an intermittent schedule of reinforcement. So when there's some kind of variability, when there's some kind of uncertainty, some kind of mystery, that causes people to engage, and it is highly, highly habit forming. Now, variable rewards comes in three types. There are three types of variable rewards: rewards of the tribe, rewards of the hunt, and rewards of the self. Let me introduce these to you briefly. Rewards of the tribe are all about social rewards. These are things that feel good, have this element of variability, and come from other people. So empathetic joy, feeling good because somebody else feels good, partnership, cooperation, competition, all of these things have this element of variability, feel good, and come from other people. So for example, on social media, what drives engagement is the uncertainty. You're never sure what you're going to see when you open up LinkedIn or TikTok or WhatsApp or Facebook for that matter. None of these sites, you're not certain about what you're going to see. There's always variability that comes from other people. The second type of variable reward is called rewards of the hunt. Rewards of the hunt are about the search for resources, material possessions, and in modern society, we get these rewards from information rewards. So when you think about the hunt for resources and variable rewards, many people think about slot machines. When people play one of these games of chance, there's uncertainty around what they might win when they pull on a slot machine. And you'll notice the exact same psychology at work online. Have you noticed, for example, why everything today has a feed? Why does everything today seem to have a feed? Well, if you think about it, it's all about this variable reward. Look at LinkedIn, right? When you go on LinkedIn, you're not sure what you're going to see. What's the latest industry news? You don't know. The only way to know is to keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, just like pulling on a slot machine. Now, when it comes to data products, data can also be used to create a variable reward. When you think about a dashboard, what is data giving you? It's all about that variability. It's all about the up-down, right? So when I check into my marketing dashboard or I check data from a financial services product, whatever the case might be, that variability of me not knowing, is the trend going up or down? That creates that uncertainty principle, that variable reward that keeps people checking and checking and checking. Now, the third type of variable reward is called rewards of the self. This is all about the search for mastery, completion, competency, and control. Best example of variable rewards of the self comes from gameplay. When people are playing some kind of game, Candy Crush or any other kind of game, there's uncertainty around what you might win, the next level you might get to. Even though you're not playing with other people, you're not winning anything in terms of material rewards, there's uncertainty around getting to the next level and achievement. Now, I know many of you, you're very serious business people. None of you play these games, I'm sure, but I bet you play this game every single day. Does this look familiar? Your email inbox? Checking that email to see what's in the email, who sent it, is it good news or bad news, trying to get to this mythical place we call inbox zero, is all about variable rewards. It's all about rewards of the self, mastery, completion, competency, and control. So the point of the variable rewards phase of the hook is to give the user what they came for, to scratch that psychological itch and yet leave them wanting more, having this element of variability around what they might find the next time they engage with a product or service. Finally, the last step of the hook model is the investment phase. The investment phase is where the user puts something into the product to make it more likely that they will come back in the future. Now, investments increase the likelihood of future engagement in two ways. The first way is by loading the next trigger, something that the user does to bring themselves back. Well, what might that look like? When you use WhatsApp or Slack or any number of other messaging services, when you send someone a message, there's no immediate reward, right? Nothing happens right then and there. What happens is you are loading the next trigger because you're likely to get a reply. And that reply comes coupled with, what's that example of right there that I'm showing on the screen, that red meatball there, the notification, is an example of an external trigger that brings you right through the hook once again. So the first way that investments increase the likelihood of the next pass is by loading the next trigger. The second way is by storing value. Now, storing value is a really, really big deal because for the first time in manufacturing history, products that we are making are appreciating in value. They're not depreciating it, not like your clothing, your car, your couch. Those things lose value with wear and tear. Habit-forming products should appreciate. They should get better and better the more we use them because of this principle of stored value. And they do this in a number of ways. For example, the more content you upload to a service, the better it becomes as your cloud storage solution. The more data you give to a product, right? The more personal identifiable information, the more usage information, the better it becomes. It stores value. It appreciates with use. The more data is used to tailor the experience based on your former usage patterns. The more followers someone has, the better they become the better the tool becomes in order to reach their future audience. So the more followers someone has, for example, on X, the more followers you have, the more valuable the tool is to you. Reputation. Reputation is a form of stored value that users can literally take to the bank. So my reputation on Upwork or eBay or Airbnb directly determines how much money I can make on one of these platforms. And how likely am I to leave one of these platforms after I've created this great reputation? It's kind of hard to do, right? It's kind of difficult. So what we found is that all habit-forming products, online, offline, enterprise products, consumer web products, doesn't matter, all habit-forming products use these 4 steps of the hook model: the trigger, the action, the reward, and investment. And through successive cycles, through these hooks, these are how our tastes are shaped, how our preferences are made, and how these habits take hold. So this is the most important slide of the presentation, that if you want to build a habit-forming product, again, I showed lots of consumer web examples like WhatsApp and Facebook and Instagram, but the same exact rules apply for enterprise products as well. Any product that needs repeat engagement has to have a hook model. And those 4 steps are the trigger, the action, the reward, and the investment. So when you ask yourself these 5 questions, what internal trigger is the product addressing? What's the external trigger that prompts the user to action? What's the simplest behavior done in anticipation of reward? Is the reward fulfilling and yet leaves the user wanting more? And then finally, what's the bit of work done to increase the likelihood of the next pass to the hook? When you ask your team these 5 questions, this is how we diagnose and build a product that is used for the long term, that increases consumer habituation, retention, and engagement. Now, let's remember as well that we have a very special responsibility, because the products that we are making, these are things that people take to bed with them every night. It's the first thing we reach for in the morning before we say hello to our loved ones. So we have to use this knowledge for good, to help people live happier, healthier, more productive lives. And if you'll allow me to borrow from the words of Gandhi, to build the change that you wish to see in the world. And with that, thank you so very much for your time and attention. I hope you've enjoyed the presentation. I think we have time for just a couple questions, but I'd love to get your feedback. So if you take a picture of this QR code on your phone, you'll be taken to a survey, or you can go to that URL, opinion2.us. Very quick survey where I'd love to hear what you thought of the presentation. And of course, please, you'll get a link to my SlideShare page where you have all the slides you just saw. I will apologize for speaking so fast. Hopefully you can see this later on as a recording and slow it down if you so need. If you have any questions for me, please reach out through my website at nearandfar.com. And with that, let's take a couple of questions. Let me take a quick look here, if you will, please. And it looks like we've got a couple questions here. Okay, first question is, what product management principles can we repurpose for how organizations can more effectively treat data as a product? So when we think about data as a product, it's not only about the data itself, it's how the data is used. Of course, right? What's the value it provides? And so if we want to be the kind of company that is providing one-time data use, you know what? You don't really need to have it. But of course, that's a very precarious business model, because now you constantly have to find new customers, as opposed to the products and services that build a habit. Once they acquire that company, that customer, now that customer has a much higher customer lifetime value because they continue to use the product. We know that we always have a much higher ROI keeping a customer than finding a new customer. So when we use data as our key asset, as a product, we can't just think about, hey, here's the data, do whatever the heck you want with it. We want to think to ourselves, how can this data be used repeatedly to build a habit? And really the key insight here is by using it through the variable reward phase. How is the data providing insights into actions in the future based on what changes in the data? And how can we present that information in a way that keeps the user coming back by following the hooked model? All right, I think we have time for one last question. How can the concept of habit formation be applied to data organizations to improve the impact of their team and their business? So what we really want to do is to have a common vocabulary. When a team can speak the language of habit formation, now they can build a product in accordance with those goals. So as opposed to saying, hey, I think this is a good idea, or I think that's a good idea, now when we have a vocabulary, when we can say, hey, I think the internal trigger isn't right, or we need better external triggers, or we need the action phase to be simpler, or the variable reward isn't cutting it, or we're asking the user to invest too much. This is a vernacular that we can use to all get aligned to building a habit forming product that really does improve people's lives. And with that, thank you so much to the One Data team for having me here today. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Stay hooked, everyone.
That was an incredible keynote. Thank you, Nir, for the insights you brought to the audience. I'm sure some of the product managers out there took notes from this inspiring keynote. We just heard how data teams can use the hook model, trigger, action, reward, and investment, to help connect the user's problem to the product or data product they are developing, and how treating data as a product can result in higher value and ROI as we keep the consumers returning and repeatedly using data to make further insights and to take greater actions. Speaking of ROI and higher value, this sets up the stage for our next speaker, Dr. Andreas Böhm, founder and CEO of One Data, who will be talking about how to turn data teams from a cost to a value center with data products. Hello and welcome, Andy. Great to have you here with us today. I now hand over the mic to you. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Hannah, for the nice introduction, and thank you, Nir, for doing the call from Singapore without a proper air condition. It was very, very insightful, and thanks a lot for doing the introduction to Hooked and how products can help to engage users with data. What I want to talk about today is moving horizons. So I think we all have a desire for change, how to change the way how we work with data, but I think there is also a need for change. In an economical time like today, we have to rethink how we invest our time in data, how we use data, and how we can get real value from what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. I think we all know that data is crucial. It's a key to success of a company. It is important to do well-funded decisions, to optimize processes, and to really get innovation. We all know that it's essential for utilizing technologies like AI. We all understand that it's the part that has been done first to make things better, and that it's in the end important for our global competitiveness. But if we understand that it's strategic, then we have to treat it as a strategic asset. And I think this is what it's about when we talk about data as a product today, and when you think about how we can get users involved and hooked with the data. We did a survey this year in Germany, where we asked more than 1,000 data leaders and CEOs about their perceived value of data and what they're actually doing. And what you see there is that nearly 60% were convinced that they use data successfully. If you look deeper into the data, then you realize, yeah, but only 21% use it for important areas like supply chain or production, so where the real value is. So why are companies failing to realize the vast business potential? Why don't they use the data they have better and have real measurable business impact? And what we think and what we've seen at successful companies is that data leaders have to help organizations to shift their way of thinking of data. Data leaders must now start treating data as a product. We at One Data, we help data leaders and their team to leverage existing investments to maximize value realization. As you all know, there is budget constraints. We all know there have been investments done into software, but we also know the value that is happening from the data and the impact that data teams can show to the business is not there where it should be. And this is what we want to do, because we think that the biggest value source that is not used in organizations is the data teams. This is the data they have in the organization, and it's the data they could make use of. But for that, we have to stop organizing data as we do it for other things, and we treat them more as a product, treating them strategically, having less data, but reliable data, having data that really count, data that are acted on, data where people are hooked on, where they invest their time in, where they've triggered to act on it, and where they really more and more change the value generation that is coming from the data. And how do we think is that possible? I think in the right-hand side, we all in the end want to have AI, we want to have self-service data, and we want to have automation from data. But to be honest, the data product does not start there. The journey for a better organization will not start by implementing GenAI. We have to start on a different level. And we at One Data think about it that you have to start analyzing what you have. Because I'm sure you did great things with your data teams. There is a lot of value generated. There are a lot of valuable dashboards that are used on a day-to-day basis. There are valuable insights that are coming by using technologies like process mining or AI. But if you don't showcase what you're already doing, and if you don't analyze what's already there, you will not, you cannot be successful and get more funds. On the other hand side, there's a lot of time wasted today because the teams I know and we see in a lot of organizations are trapped because they do non-value adding tasks. They maintain dashboards that are not used anymore. They build the same data pipelines again and again and again. They don't even know about that. And for that, what we think of, if we treat data as a product, we have to also apply methodologies of product management to data. And product management means investing into that what matters and cutting down what does not matter. And this is why in the second step, we do recommend. What do I mean with recommend? We recommend what you can cut off, which data you don't need, which data are duplicates, where you have more value from the data. Recommend which data you should treat as a product because they have so many risks if you don't treat them better. If you understood what is valuable, what is non-valuable, and if you understood what you need, then you can go into the next phase of plan. We think of it like a business case portfolio. But for planning your business cases, for planning the right data products, you have to understand the value that comes with it. You have to understand how you interact with your business stakeholders, how to get the next best data product to build. And I think this is a very important step, not just build what somebody says to do, but really building up a portfolio. Thinking data as a product management portfolio. What are important things? What is feasible? What is viable? What is data that want to be used? So coming back to the hooked pattern, where do I find data that are interesting to the users, where they come back and work and act on the data again and again? And if you have done these 3 steps, and they are crucial in the data product journey, then you can think about building. Build, by the way, does not just mean that there's one tool where we build everything. We think of it in a very decentral manner. So you can build data products in whatever tool you have, Databricks, Snowflake, dbt, or One Data, it doesn't matter. But what does matter in the end, that you don't build things twice, 3 times, 4 times. Because what we've seen too often in organizations, if there is no central data product management layer, that you do the same things again and again and again. And this is exactly what data product management is about. Finding out what's important, doing things once, investing properly into that, getting your users hooked on it, and making sure that the data are used to drive better decisions. And for this reason, the next step is important, and this is share and manage. If you have teams that are working separately, building data products, but if you don't have a central place where you can share the data products, where you can manage the life cycle, where you can manage the needs that you have to the data, where you have, when you can see what's the impact of the data that is created, of the pipelines of the compute, then you cannot manage it because you have a lot of separate teams building just for themselves, but you don't find the overarching business cases that really help to drive value. And if you come to that point, and that you have analyzed what's needed, what's not needed, cut it off, have recommended what's the data products you should build. If you plan your portfolio and execute based on a plan, if you build what's important, and if you can share and manage overarchingly with a proper governance to your organization, then you're at a great position, because then you can think about doing AI-based cases with data products, about automation, and you can think about self-service, enabling business users to do much more of that. And it doesn't take ages. Usually we've seen customers being able to come to that point in 4 months, showing vast amount of additional value from the data. And this is what it's about. And I think if we move horizons, we don't have to think in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I think we can move horizons in just a few months. If you want to, we're here for you. We support you. Thank you very much. Back to you, Hannah.
Thank you, Andy, for sharing your perspective on moving horizons and vision for how One Data will support data leaders on their journey from turning their data teams from a cost center to a center of value with our innovative product and dedicated customer value team. Speaking of product development, let's welcome Ziye Wang, Head of Product here at One Data. Ziye has been with One Data for 6 years, holding roles as a principal data scientist and in the last 2 years leading our product management team. Ziye will cover key insights from our recent data leader survey and give you a deeper look at what the product team has been busy building. Ziye, I'm very much looking forward to your insights. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you, Hannah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Ziye Wang. I have over 10 years of experience in data and AI field. I'm also dedicated to advocating greater female representation in tech. Throughout my career, I've had the opportunity to work across US, China, and Germany, leading teams in Center of Excellences, as well as supporting data leaders in consultancy and software companies to generate real business value, something I'm truly passionate about and what I believe and appreciate very much in One Data's vision and mission. As a company specializing in data product empowerment, our mission has always been to help organizations deliver consistent, scalable value with data products. Together with Gartner, we've been at the forefront of shaping strategies for data products, helping organizations on their journey towards adopting modern data frameworks like Data Mesh and Fabric. Over the past few months, we've engaged with senior data leaders, CDOs, CDAOs, head of analytics across various industries. The common pain points stood out as, despite the hard work and significant output delivered from the team in creating various data products, the true value generated from these products are often go unnoticed or unrecognized within the company. As a result, centers of excellences and analytical teams are often perceived more as cost centers rather than profit centers. Additionally, with limited capacity and budget, a disproportionate amount of time is spent on low value-added activities such as maintenance. This not only hampers the team's ability to focus on high-impact projects, but also makes it more challenging to attract and retain top talents. The biggest challenges aren't about technology nor AI. Instead, the real question is how to make the value of data products visible and how to maximize that value, even with limited resources. Building data products is something many companies already do, but extracting the most value from these data products while with reduced costs retains a challenge. What we learned from those conversations is that value lives on a spectrum, especially for data leaders who are newer to their organization or even those who are operating with a less data mature organization. These metrics stem from the basic day-to-day how we run our business metrics to the vision that every data leader has to be able to show the impact. But what we heard clearly is that 100% of you want to be able to speak to the bottom line results. This is where One Data comes into play. Our vision is to help data leaders transform their organizations from being merely a cost center into a genuine profit center, maximizing business value and save cost through a systematic step-by-step approach. With building high quality and high value data products, we also enable you to set a solid foundation for the era of AI and further democratize your data. The first step is analysis. By integrating One Data, you will gain an immediate comprehensive view of your entire data landscape. You will see all your source systems, understanding how many data assets exist across domains, and identify which data products are in your organization. More importantly, you will see how these data products are being used and the value they bring. This visibility helps pinpoint where you can unlock further potentials and identify opportunities for value creation. Imagine having the ability to connect to your Tableau, Power BI, or other data tech and being able to quickly understand the number of reports and dashboard, or the relationship between data assets that are used within the ecosystem, and even with value associated. Our impact dashboard consolidates high-level statistics, highlighting high-value, high-impact data projects or products and areas where cost efficiency can be achieved. Information like how many data assets are there in different systems, how many data products are in the marketplace and are actively being used, what is the total value generated by these data products, how many data projects are running, what are the total value generated from the delivered projects, how many reports in each systems are running, how many active users, what is the overall quality issues that needs to be fixed, and other cost metrics. You will be able to prioritize efforts and ensure the resources are directed towards the most valuable projects and activities. Next, One Data provides a holistic view of all of your ongoing data projects and business use cases. That includes tracking the progress, assessing the potential value, and managing your portfolio of data products. You will have the ability to prioritize these projects against measurable value, ensuring you maximize the outcomes from your existing resources. With this clarity, planning the next steps for data product building or business case delivery becomes significantly more efficient. One of the greatest challenges in data product development is bridging the gap between data teams and business departments. Technical teams often lack the business domain knowledge, while business teams may not fully grasp data or AI concept. This misalignment leads to lengthy communication cycles and delay in value delivery. To address this, One Data offers a business case builder with our data project canvas, a collaborative platform that enables multiple stakeholders to plan and outline projects together. It captures clear business objectives, KPI metrics, expected outputs, and the necessary data projects to support these goals. By drag and drop, you can place all the envisioned data products on the canvas, and with smart search offered by One Data, you can quickly find out what are the already available data products and data assets in your system. It also serves as a virtual pipeline to provide transparency of how the final result is being created. If you're unsure about the credibility of certain data product inside your pipeline, you just need to click on the data product, and One Data will show you the upstreams and downstream data products or assets to this very data product. This streamlined collaboration drastically accelerated communication alignment between business department and analytical teams, and ultimately the speed of value delivery. If the data product is not yet available inside the marketplace, don't worry, there are two ways that help you to get these data products. One Data offers a data product promotion feature. If you find already available data assets, you can easily promote them into a ready-to-consume data product. If there are no ready available data assets, One Data helps you to create a data product request which can be automatically generated by AI before proceeding with data product building, ensuring that data product precisely match the requirements. Data analysts and data scientists can append this existing data assets or data product request directly inside the business case builder, therefore making the process lean and streamlined. The next, of course, becomes data product building. One Data offers two options for building your data products, either within One Data, utilizing our low-code workflow and pipeline with schedulers, or use existing tools inside your ecosystem to build your data products and publish them via One Data Marketplace. Our One Data Marketplace is a game changer. It enables you to manage your data products in a decentralized way, preventing duplication, reducing costs, and accelerating delivery by allowing others to reuse existing data products. The marketplace offers a price and usage tracking feature, enabling teams to understand the value of their data products and what they're generating. Any user, regardless of their department, can search for and request data products they need inside the marketplace. If similar requests arise repetitively, you only need to build the data product once, but its value compounds with every reuse. This structure naturally boosts efficiency and promotes data-driven decision-making within your organization. But it's not just about building. Managing a growing number of data products can be overwhelming and expensive. As your organization scales, maintenance effort can eat into the time spent on value-adding activities. This is where One Data shines. We offer robust data product management capabilities. Every data product comes with a data contract that outlines essential information, SLAs, and quality standards. These contracts are automatically generated and reviewed before product release, ensuring quality and compliance. If there's any contract violation, the product owner is promptly notified, allowing for quick resolution and risk mitigation. Often, once a data or AI project is delivered, its impact is only measured once. However, data pipelines run continuously, generating ongoing value. One Data enables you to capture this continuous value while minimizing maintenance costs. This means your organization can scale more efficiently, turning data into a profit center and fully realizing the potential of your data products. As you populate your marketplace with data products, business department can directly subscribe to the products they need. This seamless access fosters a strong data culture, empowering your team to leverage data-driven insights across a more democratized and decentralized organization. One Data offers an end-to-end journey, from value identification and analysis to data product building and lifecycle management. Whether you're pursuing a data mesh or a data fabric approach, we integrate seamlessly within your operational processes to maximize the visibility and value from your existing data infrastructure. And here's the most exciting part. We can achieve this in all just 4 months. Our One Data software, combined with our value engineering team, ensures a swift transformation. We offer Marco Polo workshops to help you gain transparency and identify optimization opportunities. And we offer proof of value projects with which our experienced value engineers will guide you on a path to accelerating your data delivery for business and becoming a true profit center. In closing, our team is here to help you unlock the full potential of your data products, driving visibility, efficiency, and tangible business value. Our product continues to develop to support data leaders, their teams, and business people in getting to the right data, prioritizing right use cases, and rewarding you with valuable outcomes. While there's a lot of technology available in the market, there's no other software focusing on helping you to get that value. Join us on this exciting journey to empower your organization, and let's turn your data vision into a reality. Thank you very much. And handing back to you, Hannah.
Thank you, Ziye, for giving us a deeper dive into One Data's product and for highlighting some of the new features the team has been working on. From surfacing valuable metrics with a data product management dashboard to designing and planning data products with Business Case Builder and the new data product management feature coming soon with the data contract, One Data continues to bring a comprehensive suite of capabilities to help you design, build, manage, and share your company's most valuable data products. I'm excited to see new features in action, just like many of you watching. This concludes our first part of our Data Product Impact Summit, packed with an amazing opening keynote and great talks on data product management. Before we continue our next highlight, our thought leadership panel, I could use a coffee right now. So for all coffee lovers out there, just like myself, let's take a 1-minute break and we prepare for our panel discussion. So see you in a minute. Welcome back. I hope everyone was able to grab a coffee or take a few seconds to step away. I certainly did. And I hope you are as excited about our next session as I am. Bear with me for a second. I will share my screen because this will help you follow us. Because we have gathered 5 amazing thought leaders from the data industry who will now discuss on how they deliver value with data products. So fasten your seatbelt. I'm hoping for a wild ride, or at least some great ideas and inspiration on data product management. But of course, we will not leave them all on their own. Someone needs to drive this in the right direction. And this someone is Dr. Stefan Roskos, Managing Director of One Data. Rossi, please join me in here. Great to have you on board. Hello.
All right. Hello, Hannah. Well, thanks for taking me through this journey up to here, and a big thank you for allowing me on the coffee break. That's always good to be fresh here on stage.
Coffee's always good.
We have a very cool panel here, and thanks for introducing me. I'm managing director of One Data based here in Munich, and I'm going to introduce this amazing panel to you. And I'm also going to ask everybody of them, this is a pre-warning, ladies and gentlemen, to give also a fun fact about yourself so that people know who they're actually talking to. So if I ask the people that, I'm probably trying to do a fun fact about myself. Hannah called me Rossi before. That's actually a long-standing nickname. It's here since the 3rd grade in school. It's been very established, as even at the marriage in church, the priest actually addressed me as Rossi if I was asked if I wanted to marry my wife, which the clear question was yes. So I think that's quite significant, and potentially the impact for all of you is so feel free to call me Rossi as well, or my other name, whatever suits you best. But I'm really proud to have here this great round Böhm, who's a global data leader, and Sadas, who joins us from Washington, D.C., Eyal Roland, data and AI strategy consultant at Accenture, who joins us from Montreal. We've got Reuven Hofmann, who's the managing director of SIT, based in Hamburg. And Caroline Caruthers, she's a chief executive at Caruthers Injection. Actually, on her LinkedIn profile, she is also saying she's a data cheerleader, so I appreciate that as well. And last but not least, we've got Timo Unge, head of business planning from Panasonic, based in Munich. So, but since you all are so smart on data and know best about yourself, do me a big favor, give me a quick round of introduction in the way you are here on the slide, and tell a little bit about yourself, and don't forget the fun fact. Willem, will you start?
All right, let's see if it works. Thank you, sir. Hi, everyone. So my name's Willem, dialing in here from Washington, D.C. Great to be here, talk about data products. One of the big passions that I have in our work. I think my fun fact real quick is that I've worked on and helped build and operationalize data products in 5 continents. So not bad, I would say. Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's continue with you, Eyal.
Hi everyone, and Rossi, thank you for having me today. I'm Eyal Roland. So as you said, I'm a data and AI strategy consultant. I work for Accenture. I started in the UK and then moved to Montreal about a year ago. So very new to the Canadian market. My fun fact, I'd say I had a few in mind. I think more of a personal one. I started sewing, and I think my first experience with a sewing machine was very much sewing my finger, which I do not recommend.
Well, thanks, Eyal. Hi, Reuven.
Hi everyone. Looks like I'm the only one who got the memo that data products need to stand out, hence the orange. Just like a good data product, I'm here to be bold, eye-catching, and hopefully very useful. Let's see. And let's see if I can provide as much value as my outfit does today, hopefully.
All right, thanks. Then we have got Caroline.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for inviting me along today. I really appreciate it. So I am the author of a few books on data, so things like data-driven business transformation was one of mine. I've worked in the data space for a long time. The dinosaurs were not roaming the earth, but it was not far afterwards that I've been involved with data. And I love working with the One Data crew. They are amazing. The fun fact I would probably share with you today is that at one point in time, I held a Guinness World Record for how many coffee beans I could move with chopsticks.
That's really weird. Thank you. Amazing, Caroline. And finally, over to you, Timo.
That's a fun fact, difficult to beat, I think. Okay, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm also very happy to be with you today. My name is Timo Unge. I'm head of business planning in Panasonic Toughbook. Toughbook, for the ones who don't know, these are rugged mobile IT devices enabling frontline workers to do their job in all industries across the world. And yeah, I'm basically passionate about sales and how we can use data to increase the sales and be more successful. And yeah, the fun fact about me, yeah, I'm lucky to have 3 daughters, but at some point of time, I thought I need a male allied at home. And since by data experience, it was very easy to make the make or buy decision. And for that reason, we have now also a male cat at home.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for the round of discussion, introduction. So today, of course, this is all about delivering value with data products, right? I mean, we've all heard this 1,000 times across all the conferences. It's a very high-level statement here. And what I would like to achieve in this panel discussion is to get a really good grip on what that actually means. And if then that's value there, how can we achieve it, or how can we potentially not achieve it? Yeah, what has not worked well in the past, which has been, I don't know, too dogmatic or pretty premature, something like that. So let's take the same order here as we did with a quick round of introduction. What I would actually like to hear from you is a little bit to, let's define what a data product is, because many people define it differently. I've seen probably as many definitions as slides on the last Gartner conference in London. The best thing to get this little bit theoretical exercise more vivid is, why don't you bring your favorite data product example? And so with that example, define a little bit what the data product is. So I hope you all do have a favorite data product at hand, being a part of this panel. What's the data product and what's your favorite product? Is that a question okay for you, Willem? Would you go ahead, like to start with that?
Yes, sir, for sure. And so maybe real quick, like what's a data product? At least for me, like I would think about it as a logical grouping, right? Of curated data that's reusable across at least one, but typically more use cases that drive value. With like one additional like flavor or nuance to add is that they can typically be either like source oriented, they're very close to the process that creates it, or then consumer oriented, like how would you actually use them for a specific use case. Now, I think you asked for my like favorite example. Like I really like one from the last year working with a globally leading medical technology company who is in the middle of their migration of their ERP platform. And that already is like a good kind of context, because like if you go about this entirely new, it can be pretty hard, right? If you need to like do the whole business case, it's much easier if there's something else going on already you can tag on. So anyway, they had a material logistics history, let's say data asset or product that they would create that, across all of their like tens of thousands of different types of products would it would track like where was what at what time, like in kind of in region, in geographic coordinates. Like that was something that was fairly easily to be created then, and then it drove an enormous amount of impact through, how do you optimize your routes, for example? How do you day-to-day plan your distribution, let's say efficiency? You can analyze which products were returned and why. They didn't have any of that before. And it even provided like compliance use cases, because they could show like what was delivered at what standard and where. So fantastic, at least for me, fantastic example of using an existing transformational program to create an asset that was reusable across completely different use cases.
All right, thanks a lot, and thanks also for pointing out one of the key aspects, which is the reusability that makes a data product a data product. I think that's a very, very strong point. Thank you so much, Willem, for sharing that with me. But I'm quite sure that Eyal also probably has a comparable good one on their plate. So would you like to
I
share that
do,
with me?
and I think I'm of the opinion of a lot of organizations are trying to nail down, the right definition for data product. And what I can see is that we sometimes struggle, or at least when I'm having conversation with my clients, we struggle to get that final, very refined definition of a product. And I sometimes think that, especially in software and IT, the definition of a product, it doesn't take that long to, or we don't spend as much time, I guess, to define what is a product in software and IT. So why are we doing that much, refining of definition in the data space? So I kind of think that sometimes it's not about actually nailing down the definition. It's more nailing down the techniques and the principle to apply on the data. So we could leverage just basic data, I guess basic product management techniques without even mentioning data products in the first place. So I think that's my point of view. I do have, I guess, more of a vision of what a data product is. So to me, and I think Accenture internally, we've had many discussion is, in that balance sheet, we have physical assets, we have logical assets. Why don't we have an asset that is a data product with pluses and minuses in that balance sheet. So then at the end of the year or at the end of the financial year, we can actually report onto that data asset and the benefit and the cost associated to it. What it means is usually, I guess, in my head, it's something that is, I guess, a ready-to-use package of data, metadata, some code, some services, some standards, and also the experience around it. That is, I guess, creating that data product, which is technically addressing a specific business needs or specific business information. I think that's how I would define it. To answer your question on my favorite data product, I think this one was a tough one. It took me a little bit of time to think of what I would go with. The best one that I've seen wasn't actually one that I was responsible for. It was one that I have seen at my client a couple of years ago, which was more how they were using, I guess, network data to understand the traffic of people in a train station. And they created that beautiful, I guess, interface where you can really understand at what time rush hour was in a train station based on those network data. And they really, instead of focusing on what the data was giving us as insight, it was the recommendation and the visuals was giving the right information for people to make the decision on how many trains do you want to have at specific time, how do you want to manage those rush hours. So I think it was very powerful and a really great data product that they could monetize on for future customer.
All right, no, thank you very much. I think it's a brilliant example, and it points out for me a very important characteristic of a data product, which is the value of the data product, which can be like a business value. Everybody comes that to mind, but it could also be a value for communities and societies in commuting better and using more public transportation. So I think that's quite brilliant at that point in time. Thank you so much, Eyal. Well, what's your view, Reuven, on data product, and what's your favorite data product? We know your favorite color already. So.
All right, yeah. I think that's the easy one. I think it's nearly like the others already telling. I think it's a package of it's a solution package, when we call it like that. And for me, it's very important to have the business needs and the business goals in one of the first points to address when it comes to a project, because I've seen so many data projects and data products without a real business impact, and that was quite challenging and often leads to not so good solutions. Let's call it like that. So for me, the business case is very important to have it, and this is also a change that was, I think, that took over the last years, that we're not just gathering or harvesting data and trying to get anything out of it, but defining the business goals first and then trying to set up something. I think that's the change. And yeah, what's my favorite data product? That's hard. I was thinking over. I had a recent article written about a bicycle computer that I've seen that was invented, and they were explaining me what a data product is when it comes to cycling and for a cycling computer, for example. And that was quite interesting for me to see that, for example, weather data is a data product, and health data is a data product. And I found all the combinations quite impressive for me. And it's not only one favorite, but for me, it's a package of those data sets that I found very useful and quite inspiring.
All right, now thank you very much. And if I may add and agree, that's a brilliant example, because what we've seen in the years before is that especially the combination of data products creates something unique and new, and that typically stems from different sources, and that's real creation. And in particular, if those sources are trusted, which is a characteristic of a data product as well, it becomes really, really powerful. So thank you for bringing up this aspect as well, Ruben. Caroline, what's your view on data product and your favorite one, please? Thank you.
I am all about the simplicity. I think if we let data and IT people spend enough time arguing about the definition of a data product, we will never get anything useful done. So I'm very much on the line of it is a trusted, reusable data asset. And that could be anything from a raw data set that we use for loads of different things, through to the software that goes into self-driving cars and makes decisions for us in ways like that. So I'm much more about how do we drive the value, how do we create something, as Ruben said, how do we actually get something useful for what we're talking about. And when you asked me, because you did give us a little bit of warning about picking our favorite data product, and I felt a little bit like that was a slightly odd question, but I ran with it. Coming from the UK, we're slightly obsessed about the weather. Anybody who's been near the UK knows this about us. We love a conversation about the weather. So if I had to pick a favorite data product, it's the data set that our Met Office puts out that feeds all our weather apps in the UK.
Okay, all right. Well, that's a good one. It also has a social aspect, and yeah, you just repeated what the others were saying in terms of characteristic of a data product, and it really comes down to the daily practical value of what that data product actually is delivering, as opposed to we're all agreeing on a definition, I would say, and also fully buying into that, because it's we're not in academia, at least not anymore. It comes to me. So thanks for pointing that out, Caroline. Very refreshing. And last but not least, Timo, what's your view on data products, or would you even care about the definition? And are you happen to have a favorite one?
Yeah, Rossi, if you ask me to give a definition, I would say a data product, there's nothing different compared to a product we are used to. Ultimately, it needs to deliver an outcome for the customer, and then only then it has a value. If the user really gets an outcome, and that can be a trigger for a further activity, or it can just be further intelligence gained, but the outcome, that's really in the center. My favorite data product is something again related to our sales force. Yeah, as a manufacturer, we collect a lot of data. Basically, from the first second of the life of the product, we start collecting data. We have all the warranty and repair data in our service cloud. We have historical sales data in our ERP system, and now we know what the customers bought 3, 4, 5 years ago. We know what are our new products available, and now we try to match those product specifications from the past with the new products. And yeah, bringing all these different data sources together, I can now trigger my sales guys and tell them and recommend them at which point of time they should offer which kind of product to which customer, and that's really a big benefit which we have achieved by building a data product.
Thank you so much. Here comes the business value again. Excellent concrete example. That's really hands-on. I like that a lot. So open question to the round, and everybody who has an opinion, just feel free to start the conversation and then probably cross each other. So there's one thing I'm wondering about. There is a deep consensus that data products will and are delivering value. Everybody wants it. I've never heard somebody like, let's not do something with data, let's remove this and go back to gut feeling and stuff like that. So the direction is clear. Things become data-driven, projections, decisions are data-driven. data products are the cornerstone of that. So why is it sometimes so hard these days to create these data products? Because I tend to hear back, and let me know if you see it differently, that people would like to use more data products and more data in real life, but sometimes the process to get to this data source, data product as a trustful source of business value information is a little bit cumbersome. So what's your view is why is it not even more? So
Can I jump
Shirley,
in?
yeah,
I
sure,
can
sure,
start
go
with
ahead.
what I think the really obvious one is that we haven't done the work on data in the past. So we're trying to create data products, and to do a really good data product, you need something to build it with. You need the data, and if we're sitting on a ton of data that hasn't been looked after, hasn't been governed, hasn't been cleaned, hasn't been curated, hasn't been collected, all of those great things we know we should have been doing around data, then we're going to struggle to create the product, because there's a lot of work we have to do to make sure we have what we need. It's creating the good tools in the kitchen to be able to produce the right recipe.
Mhm.
So I think getting some of the basics right is one of the first problems we have to encounter.
All right.
And I think I'd like to jump on it, which is if you look back at the history around, what's the evolution on the data and AI side, and also how did we go to product management as well in the IT space. We didn't have it. We just at the edge of where we're migrating to cloud. We're getting the data team working with the business a little bit closer. So I think there has been an evolution where, yes, data was initially not available to all. We managed to get a data lake, to get a data platform, to enable of the right services to support the analysis and the insight creation. I think now we're talking about data mesh, data fabric. We are getting onto that space where we are enabling anyone or democratizing, I guess, all of the data practices. So I think if you look back at the history around product management in IT, where it happened the same thing. Initially, the IT team was managing all of the applications development, and then now ultimately the line of businesses are actually owning some of the applicatives. So we are repeating the same story that happened in software in the data. So I think we're just going through this evolution. But you're right. I think Caroline, I agree. We are just building the foundation as we speak.
I would maybe add to that. I mean, confirm all of that, but I would maybe add to that that a really great data product or data asset, like it's kind of cross-functional in nature, right? So you have to have this kind of collaboration where you need to have folks from a business side, both from the where the data is kind of created and changed, as well as usually also teams and other teams that would be using it, right? You have teams, the engineers that you need for the data pipelines, potentially scientists for the model. If you do it right in the right scale, you may need to have someone from a privacy office to check the data access protocols, these types of things. So these things are easy to present, right? In a like say a forum like this around like, hey, here's an agile type of way of you get all these people together. But like in reality, these still tend to report up to their own organizations with their own incentives and their own kind of things that they remember. And I think that's just where going from theory and ideas into making this real, it just you need discipline, sustained positive energy to actually kind of get through that and actually start to get those patterns to get these teams to trust each other as well. Like at least from my view, that's part of it as well.
Yeah, I also would like to confirm on these points. Basically, you need this cross-functional team. You need the ones who already start thinking from the outcome again, the ones who say, this is what I want to achieve ultimately with the data product. And then you need the experts in the background who can build you that product and understand how the data works. But the power is really in this cross-functional collaboration.
Yeah, and I want to add that I've seen a lot of companies fearing the effort to shift an organization to a domain-driven approach, which is quite close to establishing data products in the company. And most of the organizations worry about losing governance, for example, and it's something that is still a misunderstanding from my side.
All right. Thank you for this aspect. So if I just there's a big question always, and I think you've partly given the answer, but sometimes not the case. So who should own the data product in your view? Is it owned by the IT? Is it owned by the domain? Is it the data product of sales team? Is that your data product that you're having and you're going to ask the IT guys to do, or is it owned by the chief data officer or somebody who's the owner? Huh? Who is it? I depending on who I talk to, I get completely different answers. So, what would be your view on that?
Maybe the nuance starts with what kind of data product are we talking about?
Yeah.
I think we need to unpack it and say, okay, we know there is different type of data product. As Willem said, you've got your source aligned data product, you have your more consumer aligned data product, you've got advanced analytics data product. So ultimately, based on the different type of data product, the skill set will be significantly different, and the kind of knowledge that you need is going to also be very different. So the answer on this one is probably not straightforward, and to me, it's very tightly aligned with this kind of nuances when you're defining or when you're working with a specific data product.
I would have to back Eyal. I feel like there's a mutual appreciation society going on here, so not on purpose, I promise. But I do have to agree with that one. There are many different types of data product, and the reason that you're probably getting different answers as to who owns it is it depends on which type of data product you're talking about. Because if it's, for instance, a set of raw data that somebody looks at, it's probably the person who creates it that would be responsible for that particular one. Whereas if it is more of a product that's a algorithm, for instance, then it's the person that's using the algorithm and actually getting the value. So normally my answer would come back to who's actually getting the value from it, and that's got to be in the line somewhere.
Okay,
Maybe
so differentiated answer, Willem.
No, just for the most part, like totally agreeing with that. Like the answer traditional it's going to be it depends, right? A little bit. So I would still say that having said that, it just tends to help if you can align it with kind of that domain driven model. So like if your products and assets could be embedded into that domain driven understanding, even if it doesn't fit exactly, it just really helps in general, because that's where your broader data ownership concept will be defined, typically, at least, right? So I think I think that's maybe one thing from an operationalization, like how easily you can do that. And then the second part around like the actual role of a data product owner, like is maybe different from the data ownership of that's included in the product or the asset. And I think the data product role is something you could delegate, like, or something you could, let's say you could hire it into, you could have a cross-functional team under the CDO that owns a couple of products. You can have them within a business team. They could actually be in IT even. Like, as long as the role is clear, as long as it's clear that the accountability for the data that's included in it, you cannot defer, right? You cannot delegate that. That eventually still comes back to the respective owner. But I've seen, probably like you, Stefan, like many different shapes and forms of like where the actual data product owner can sit and report to.
Okay, well, interesting. It's just, it's
And maybe
Rosie,
I've got one more. I think one thing on ownership that I've looked at was one, looking at setting up a forum where those ownership discussion actually happen, because ultimately I think my mindset is more ownership can shift. You can give the ownership to maybe two people or one person that has the best skill set at the given time, and then as the product evolved, you may find that actually the ownership may need to shift somewhere else, or to move to somewhere else that is more qualified. So I don't think ownership is a static concept. I think it is moving and is probably one of the key principles underneath product management.
All right, perfect. I'm also looking at the time. Maybe we have a last question for the full round. So to say, it's a closing statement. Actually, it's not. It just came up here because I had that conversation and I thought it was be a strange conversation. So I'm sure everybody of you can answer the question. So I was actually discussing with a person around like trends in everything around data, and the two dominating topics today are data products and generative AI, as probably we all come across. And that somebody said to me, actually, no, we don't talk about data products this time. We have to take care about generative AI first, right? So we probably do data products later, right? And now here's the closing question. What would you respond to that person, Ruben? Ruben, maybe your first reaction. What would you start on? I think you're still mute.
Are you kidding?
I'm sorry, no, go on.
Yeah, go first, no problem.
No, Caroline, go first.
I'll make it really quick. What problems are you having and what do we need to use to solve that problem? It's actually, that's what I would be focusing on, not how I solve the problem.
All right. Thank you.
I would see generative AI as a tool, or as a tool to achieve a goal, and I still need data products. So data product should come first, from my opinion.
Love that. Bill?
I mean, I'm not shy to talk about this one. Like, this is very close to my heart. Like, I don't know, like many clients want that. That's just the newest tool on the marketplace, right? That they want to use and they want to use it tomorrow. You can't do it with the right data, right? It's as simple as that. At least not for the, like, you can use the co-pilot type of implementations, but they won't really change your business process in any meaningful way. Not really anyway. Like, if you really need this to work in any reliable way, like there's a couple of people who rushed to it and they suffered from it, right? They bought wrong implementations in legal industry and food production. You can see them. But like if you Gen AI, like even those implementations will not work if you have access to the right high quality data. And so the risk is even increased because no matter what you ask a Gen AI application, like the result's going to be elegant, right? So you can't actually tell that easily if it's actually high quality response or not for whatever the business process is. So, you have that foundational, what data do you have? Can you trust it? How does it drive kind of these responses is still there, and data products is just the quickest way to get there. So if this has been one that I've been talking about, you almost can hear the fatigue in my voice almost around like trying to try to talk about this, but like that's like for me is definitely have to go back to the foundational data capabilities first. But at the same time, you can use it as this is the big momentum, like this is the business case creation behind those foundational things if you want something like Gen AI. So I would leave it at that.
Yeah, for me, the value really lies in the data product, and Gen AI, it's just a tool which can even deliver the data product and support to build the data product.
Okay.
Maybe my 2 cents is I actually think there is you can look at Gen AI or LLM as a data product because you still need to look at manage the data quality of your LLM. There's still data going through that LLM, even though you may not be owning. It may be coming from data products or it may be coming from third-party sources, which may also be data products. But this ecosystem around that LLM is potentially the data product, or you could apply the data product thinking on that LLM.
All right. Thank you very much. Very pointed as well as very insightful answers. Thanks everybody for being part of this panel today, taking your time. It's been amazing to be your host. I'm looking virtually over. I think we are heading back to Hannah, if I'm not completely mistaken. And double checking if now we're running out of time. I'm sorry for that. Hannah, what's the next step? Are we having questions, or are we giving a warm virtual applause and goodbye to all the panelists here?
I would definitely say applause to you all. It was great listening in, and obviously I really enjoyed just sitting back and watching you guys. So thanks a lot for being here. In case our audience has questions, I've seen a few on the side. We will come back to you and answer all of them. So many thanks for all those people being active out there. And yeah, for our panelists, and Rossi, for you moderating through our panel today. So I'll take over from here. Many, many thanks, and hopefully see you soon.
All right. Thank you so much. Happy data product building.
Great. Let's have a quick look at our main takeaways for the day. We started off with our keynote from Near about how to create hooks by using a common vocabulary and helping connect the user problem to the product or data product they are developing. And from Andy, we heard about how we must move horizons to drive greater impact and value as we embark on our data product journey. And Ziye on how one data product is being developed to help both data and business teams plan, prioritize, and deliver data products tied to value. And finally, from our expert panelists, we can summarize that as data teams, the responsibility to drive change in how we work with business stakeholders requires us to elevate the value we can deliver over time. As we conclude today's mission, I encourage all of you to think beyond the immediate task of data management and instead consider how each data product, each insight and action can contribute directly to your organizational success, whether it's increasing revenue, reducing costs, or drive efficiencies. We can all agree the impact of data is about more than technology. It's about delivering real business value and making your organization stronger, smarter, and more agile through collaboration and partnership. One Data aims to provide you with the technology and support to help you get there. Please check out the product tour on our website to see One Data for yourself and take advantage of the data product strategy workbook to support your data product journey. Thank you so much for your time today, and we are very much looking forward to seeing you soon, maybe in person next time. Have a great day and goodbye.